Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep, like really deep, into something I think we all wrestle with, hope. You know, that hope that's tied up with faith, that feeling of searching for something bigger.
Hmm.
We've got excerpts from Don P. Baker's book, Hope, to help us along, and some seriously powerful verses from Deuteronomy, chapters 4.9 and 29, to be exact.
Powerful stuff.
And these verses aren't just some ancient words, you know? They actually offer some surprisingly practical advice for staying close to God, no matter where you are on your spiritual journey.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's so interesting about these verses is how they really get the struggles of keeping faith alive.
Right.
They don't pretend it's always easy.
Mm,
It's a journey, ups and downs, moments of doubt, moments of clarity, the whole deal.
for sure. Okay, so let's jump into Deuteronomy 4.9. It talks about guarding against spiritual complacency and forgetfulness. I don't know about you, but spiritual complacency makes me think of like falling asleep in church. What does that actually mean in this verse?
It's about staying aware,
Mhm.
not letting the craziness of life push out those times where we truly feel connected to God.
Mm.
It's like we have those amazing moments where we see God working in our lives. Baker calls them Red Sea moments.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But then life takes over and we forget the awe, the wonder.
Red Sea moments, that's a powerful image. Like, I'm thinking about a time I was going through something really rough, and I just felt this overwhelming peace, like someone was carrying me through it. That was a Red Sea moment for me.
Exactly. And Baker says we need to really remember these times. Write them down. Talk about them. Revisit them in your mind. They fuel our faith, especially when doubt creeps in.
So it's like making a photo album of those moments so we can pull them out when we need a reminder.
Perfect analogy. And the verse goes even further, talking about passing that faith on to the next generation.
Okay, that makes sense in ancient Israel, but what's that look like for us now? Just teaching our kids about God.
It can be, but it's bigger than that. It's about sharing your faith journey with anyone who might be searching. Could be just a conversation, a story of how your faith helped you through something tough.
Mm.
You never know. Your experience might resonate with someone and inspire them on their own path.
It's true. Sometimes I think we overthink things. It doesn't have to be a big sermon, just speaking from the heart.
Exactly. And that leads us to Deuteronomy 4.29. This one offers a powerful message of hope, especially for those who might feel distant from God right now. It's the there's always a way back verse.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely felt that distance before, like when life throws curveballs and you just question everything.
Hmm.
But this verse is saying, even then, there's a path back.
Absolutely. It's about seeking him out, but there's a catch. It has to be wholehearted, not just a, hey, God, if you're out there
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Okay, so what does wholehearted seeking actually look like? Because honestly, some days just getting out of bed feels like a spiritual victory.
I hear you, and Baker gets that. He actually compares it to refining precious metals, like gold.
Oh, God.
You got to go through fire, intense heat, to really purify and strengthen it. Wholehearted seeking isn't about being perfect. It's about intentionality. It's about those daily choices, those small acts of lining up your will with God's.
Okay, that makes it feel a little less intimidating, right? So instead of trying to climb Mount Everest in a day, it's about those consistent, smaller steps.
Exactly. Think of it like building a muscle. You wouldn't expect to bench press like 200 pounds in your first try.
Right, right.
You start small, stay consistent, gradually increase. It's the same with our spiritual connection. We build it through prayer, reflection, studying scripture, acts of service, all those things.
I'm seeing a pattern here, this idea of actively engaging with our faith, not just passively hoping for the best.
Right on. And Baker points out that a lot of us, we get tripped up by this idea that we have to feel God's presence all the time to have real faith.
Yeah, I've been there.
Right.
Some days it's like my prayers are going into a void.
Exactly. But Baker reminds us, faith isn't always about feelings. It's about choosing to believe, even when we don't have all the answers. It's about trusting God's promise, even when we don't see the proof.
That's a really helpful way to look at it because, yeah, if we only relied on feelings for our faith, that's a shaky foundation.
Totally agree. Life's going to throw too many curveballs.
That is for sure.
And speaking of curveballs, Baker actually offers some really practical ways to nurture that wholehearted seeking, even when things are tough.
Okay, I'm all ears. What can we actually do?
Well, first he talks about journaling. But not just any journaling. It's about focusing on those times you felt God, like truly felt him.
Okay.
Write down those Red Sea moments we talked about.
So like a gratitude journal, but for your spiritual life.
Yes. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a few words about the experience, how you felt, what you learned, It becomes this powerful reminder of God's faithfulness, especially when those doubts start creeping in.
I love that. It's so easy to forget those moments, especially when life gets busy.
Absolutely. And then he talks about sharing your faith journey with others. Again, it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing.
Yeah.
Could be as simple as telling a friend about a time your faith helped you through a tough situation.
So just being real, being vulnerable.
Exactly. You never know. Your story might be the exact thing someone needs to hear to spark their own journey of seeking.
It's true. We don't need to have all the answers to encourage others.
Right. And for those moments when you're feeling lost, disconnected, Baker really stresses intentional prayer and reflection. He says even just 5 minutes of focused, quiet time can make a difference.
Okay, but real talk, 5 minutes of quiet can feel impossible sometimes. Work, family, life.
Yeah.
How do we make that happen?
It really is about being intentional. Even when it feels like impossible, Baker actually suggests treating that quiet time like a real appointment, something you wouldn't just cancel. Maybe it's 5 minutes before the kids are up, or during your lunch, or right before bed, just creating these little pockets of stillness where you can just be present.
So it's less about how much time and more about the quality of the connection.
Yeah, exactly. And one last thing from Baker. He reminds us that even when we don't feel God, he's still there.
Ah, that's good to hear.
Doubt, it's normal, part of faith.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're doing something wrong.
That's so important. It's easy to think if I was a good Christian, I wouldn't have these doubts.
Right.
But doubt can actually make us grow, right? It makes us really think about what we believe, dig deeper.
Totally. It's in those moments of wrestling that our faith gets stronger. Baker even encourages us to, bring our doubts to God. Be honest about where we're struggling. He says that's where real closeness starts, when we can be totally open and vulnerable.
Man, this has been such a great conversation. We've covered so much, from those Red Sea moments to actively seeking God, even when we're doubting.
And it all comes back to this hope and that connection with God. They're there for everyone, no matter who you are, where you are on your journey.
You don't have to be perfect, have it all figured out. Just start where you are and take that first step.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, if you were to actively seek God today, what would that even look like in your life? What one small step could you take to get closer?
Such a good question. Maybe it is starting that gratitude journal for your spiritual life, or sharing your story, or just finding those 5 minutes of quiet today. Whatever it is, I hope this deep dive has encouraged you to keep seeking, keep believing, and keep going deep.
And remember, no matter where you are in your path, hope is always there. And God is always waiting.